Welcome to The Next Word. I'm your host, Chris Warnke. I'm so pleased for today. We have a very special guest, Dr. Donna Vincent Roa, who is the Project Director for Incubator Partnerships at USAID, as well as many other roles that she has served in. And we're going to hear about what she's doing currently to help many, many countries around the world. Dr. Roa, thank you again for being with us today. I mean, I read your bio and it's incredibly impressive. I mean, tell us a little bit about your background to start things off here.
Absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I do have a pretty amazing background. I've lucked out in the field and the choices that I've made as it related to my professional development. I am now working in international development, and there are a number of things that happened in my career that led me to this. One was having the chance to visit another country very early on. Mexico was my first visit. And as I enjoyed the culture and being able to understand other peoples and other nations, it gave me a very strong interest and an appetite to learn more about other countries throughout the world. The field of international development allows me to do so. I've had a chance to visit 45 countries, interfacing with prime ministers of organizations to head of international organizations within each of the countries, and then also to go and visit the poorest of the poor, going out into the middle of a country to visit farm, to see farmland where these organizations are using new technologies to be able to influence the food and economic security of their regions. So I've had a chance to develop several sort of milestones working with 4 USAID projects. So I have experience in having the benefit of being able to work directly with sort of on the ground social impact projects.
It's amazing. And I know the work, I read the work you've been doing, certainly in the past too, with water and sustainability. A little bit about that. I mean, and I don't know what countries you kind of focused, in, but that is clearly a huge global issue around the world, particularly in Africa, but of course in India and other places around the world. Can you talk a little bit about your water sustainability program?
Absolutely. I have had an interest in the environment since I was in high school. I was doing stream cleanups before stream cleanup were even a word or people cared about stream cleanups. And throughout my entire career, there is the water environment thread. Through this, most recently, I engaged with the program called Activate. And I was able to take this 12 or 13 month program to learn more about specifically water technologies. And it was during this time that I had an opportunity to do presentations about the different sort of segments of research that I had covered. And during this time, there were speakers that came in and spoke to our class. And during this time, I also was able to evaluate a gap in the marketplace. And I wrote a book called The Value of Water, a compendium of essays by smart CEOs. What I found was that there was a lack of the voice from CEO level individuals who were driving organizations that were having major impacts on water. And they had important thinking about the value of water. In this process, my personal intention was to move away from the field of communication, take my bag of tricks in communication with me, but to expand my wings to work in a management role or in a project role that had something to do with water. I received a call from the Kaizen Company, which is an outstanding contractor in international development. And we spoke about a position, a chief of party position with the Securing Water for Food Technical Assistance Facility. And it was an opportunity. It was a 5-year contract. It was an opportunity to lead this incubator accelerator that provided services to innovators who had won the Grand Challenge, Securing Water for Food Grand Challenge for Development. So during this time frame, I and my team had the chance to work with 40 innovators operating in 35 different countries. And it was one of the most remarkable experiences that I've had in my career. And it gave me a chance to apply both my knowledge and my passion in the water field.
So 45 in 45 different countries.
40 innovators in 35 different countries.
Were many of them in Africa, or were they just sort of all over? I mean, South America and India?
He had innovators all over the world, a large number of them in India, a large number in Africa, but there were innovators in Nepal, for example, in Peru, in Tajikistan. So yeah, innovators all over the world.
So can I ask you a question then? Did a lot of the burden I have found historically has been on women to get the water, correct?
That is correct.
Are women taking the lead in some of these projects? Was there a pattern that you saw? Because certainly they've always had that burden put on them for their families.
That's a very important question that you ask. And in this 5-year period, we had 4 rounds of calls for innovation. And by the 4th round, we did include in the call for innovations a very specific request that organizations be either run by women or they were 51% owned by women. And so we did have a very specific emphasis on women-owned or women-led businesses. In addition to that, by our 4th round, we began to have specific milestones as it related to gender. And we definitely spoke to each of our innovators about the monitoring and evaluation that would take place as it relates to both men and women and youth in some cases, depending on the project.
No, that's fascinating. Oh, that's great. So taking back that in my earlier introduction of you, I talked about the Partnerships Incubator program. That's a new initiative at USAID, and you're the project director. Can you talk a little bit about it? And what is partnerships? Does that mean all partnerships, private, public, global?
USAID has taken a very big step in trying to understand how partners work with them. What kind of challenges do those partners face? What are the barriers? What potentially could the agency do to improve the diversity of their partner base, but also to reach out and influence partners at the local level? So there was some formative research done. Around 250 partners were interviewed, in addition to 100 individuals, agency officials, to do just that, to try to understand what were the challenges, what were the barriers, what could be done by the agency to diversify the partner base, and then also to help the agency to embed creativity and innovation, and then looking specifically at what can we do as an incubator to help these partners connect to the agency. What can we do? What kind of resources can we provide that would help them to understand the kinds of things that they need to do to be able to improve their readiness to work with USAID? So if you were thinking of USAID as a castle, we're helping to bring the drawbridge down to allow more partners into the equation.
That's great. That is great, because it's quite daunting, as we all know. I think the kind of advice that you would give to, let's say, a smaller partner that wants to become a USAID collaborator, what would you tell them? Because I'm sure there are many out there that would love to be partners with USAID. The work is phenomenal.
Yeah, I guess for each partner, there could be a different pathway into connecting with USAID. For example, if I am a small communication firm and I can provide services to a prime contractor that already has a major contract with USAID, that might be a good way for me to sort of break into the equation with some mentoring being done by that prime contractor. And so I could look for a prime contractor that already has a relationship with USAID, and I could happily serve as a subcontractor for a variety of larger contracts and work my entire firm for the rest of its existence as a subcontractor. Now, in the research that USAID put together, one of the things that came out was, I could direct you to go to USAID.gov, but it's quite complicated. It's hard to know where to start. And so one of the solutions that we have come up with in the Partnership Incubator is putting together workwithusaid.org. It's a new site that's going to address some of these challenges that came out in the initial set of research done by the agency, in addition to all the research that we conducted since that initial research to try to understand sort of in real time what kind of ecosystem or hub could we put together that would address in a realistic way these very questions. So the brand for the site is new to USAID, start here. And so we are creating a very specific pathway that we recommend in very sort of strong detail, but we inform a partner what the journey could be like to take you along that pathway to connect with USAID or to join the ecosystem in some way. And so we have a number of value options within this new workwithusaid.org.
That's fascinating. And with the new tools that we have now available, the new technological tools, are you finding that this is certainly facilitating this process far more than you ever imagined? From let's say a year ago, pre-COVID, with every kind of Zoom capability and virtual tool that we have out there. Is that part of the equation that you all are utilizing?
So obviously we want to build a site that is as universal as possible. We want to be able to connect to those organizations that have perhaps irregular bandwidth. And so we're taking into account all of the different target audience needs. And we're setting this up as a free site.
Oh, free, okay.
A free site, a resource hub that is as globally accessible as possible. So there's going to be a variety of innovative services. Some you have to sign up for. For example, if you're an organization and you're interested in trying to understand just a simple question, how do I create an environment in my organization that positions me as an organization that's ready to receive funds from USAID? We've put together something called the pre-engagement assessment, and it's 48 questions that align with the requirements of the agency for those organizations that are interested in receiving funds from the agency. And so at the end of that questionnaire or the assessment, you will have a list of items that represent potentially the action items that you need to take to improve your readiness to work with the agency. And so our ultimate goal is to connect organizations to a free ecosystem with other interested partners, but also with the tools that they could use to help them to understand their own readiness, and then to connect to other resources that can improve their knowledge about what it takes to work as a contractor with USAID or potentially work as a subcontractor with other contractors.
Oh, that would be great. You have, is this a fairly new initiative, this Partnership Incubator? It's pretty recent, right? Correct?
Yeah, we started in October of 2019.
In 2019, okay. Okay, can you give any kind of specific projects that are success stories, in your opinion, that viewers can understand?
Absolutely. So as it relates to specific partners, while we provide technical assistance, we always work at the direction and the discretion of the agency. So if a partner showed up on our doorstep tomorrow and said, hey, I need organizational development services, we're not in a position to provide direct to partner services unless it's under the direction and discretion of the agency. And so one of the projects we had to work on was to evaluate or to get consumer feedback on work with USAID.gov or USAID.gov. Mm-hmm. And we put out a survey that went to the masses. We got in over 1,200 responses in that survey. And part of our carrot was to include in the description of the survey an opportunity for a partner to receive services from the Partnerships Incubator. So it was a public call for a survey, and we said, if you provide us with robust and interesting answers in this survey, you would be considered for a technical assistance package. And so it went out to the world. We then evaluated all the surveys and picked, I think the original cut was about 65 responses that were beautiful. They were over the top and providing very useful feedback. And then we had a random sort and went through and chose 2 organizations, one of which was a company called Agricentric Ventures from Ghana. Mm-hmm. Now, a bit about this company. They had recently won some funds from a seed accelerator in Africa, and they had no other internet presence. We knew right away that helping this organization at least get some real estate on the web would be very useful, would be purposeful for this particular organization. It was doing great work, but its visibility was quite low. It was doing such great work that they were able to win a major award from a seed accelerator in Africa. So we were very pleased to have the opportunity to work with this organization. We did our diagnostic to find out what services would be the most useful or beneficial in the present time, but also for the sustainability of the organization. This is a diagnostic tool that looks at various aspects of the organization, and we came back with a proposal for the different levels of assistance that we could provide. One of the examples was to create branding, a new logo, messages, a new website, new business card, new LinkedIn photos or new LinkedIn banners. And so we were able to take a look at that business and elevate some of the areas that we deemed as important. The CEO was a very elegant and diplomatic participant in the process. And we were able to build out some very important deliverables for this organization that we hope influences its success and sustainability over time.
Oh, that's great. Dr. Rowe, thank you. And we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
When I was 10, my mom got deported. We had a difficult time, and I feel that's why I didn't get to finish school.
Jessica has been through a lot in her life from early childhood.
My husband is really supportive in a way that he pushed me to go back to school.
She came in looking to complete her diploma. She had a family she had to take care of. Anytime she needed help, we provided her help. She realized that we were here for her.
She wants to have a career so her kids can look up to her.
My graduation, it was something I will never forget. I couldn't explain the emotion I was feeling because people like you and me sometimes may have doubts in ourselves, but I feel that everything's possible.
Jessica's future is brighter than ever.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to The Next Word, and we have a special guest in Dr. Donna Vincent Roa, who's the Renaissance woman. She has many talents, and we're thrilled to have her. She is the project director of the Partnerships Incubator for USAID, a new initiative at the agency. Dr. Roa, I look at your resume, and I'm just amazed. You sing, you're a filmmaker, you're an award winner. It goes on, and you're Cajun. I was fascinated with your Cajun background. But let's talk a little bit about your filming. You've done films. Can you tell us about, I know one premiered at the Cannes Festival. How did you get into film? Love it. Love it.
Yeah, boy, that is a loaded question.
Yeah.
Well, I told my husband one year, I know you love to buy me jewelry, but this year I'd like for you to buy me some books on screenwriting. And so he purchased 7 books on screenwriting. I took those 7 books and devoured them from Christmas until about mid-February. And by then I thought, hey, I could write a screenplay. So I wrote a 125-page screenplay from the middle of February to the end of May. Then I traveled to Hollywood and pitched it and got it optioned and ended up moving to Hollywood on a sabbatical. And during that time, produced a short film that ended up at the Short Film Corner at the Cannes Film Festival. I ended up getting the option for the film back and took that screenplay and transformed it into a contemporary novel called 5 Knocks. It is about a young Chinese girl who, in the search for her parents, she's adopted by an American family, and in the search for her parents, she learns that her father is the author of China's one-child policy.
Right. And I note that in your resume, that fascinating. So you developed that whole story around this, and it's fascinating. But you also, of course, I know you have a number of books, but you're a singer, and you continue to sing, and you had a background as a disc jockey. I mean, where did you get this talent?
Well, in the case of the disc jockey, I can say that I was a hungry college student looking for a job and was able to sign up for a part-time job as a country and Western disc jockey. And that kind of started my career in media, and worked for about 1.5 years as a disc jockey. And then when I transferred to another school, I ended up taking a job as a account executive and TV producer for a local cable station, and was able to start my television production sort of career or experience at a cable station. And ever since then, I mean, even now, I'm connecting my producing experience with my singing experience, and I serve as the marketing coordinator for Sweet Adeline's International Region 19. And I do a bunch of promotional videos for them to be able to promote events or different kinds of things that are happening within the region.
Oh, that's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, so between your singing, your writing, your filmmaking, you also were chosen among a handful, I guess, of scientists to redesign the $100 US bill, correct? And how did that happen?
Yeah, I worked at that time at the U.S. Information Agency, and the Treasury Department was looking for a team of researchers to travel to 10 capitals around the world. And I was one of the researchers that traveled to a capital. I went to Almaty, Kazakhstan, and I was there for 6 weeks, where I had an opportunity to carry out a focus group research project. And we interviewed different people, different classes, different ages, male, female, and had a chance to draw from the community research that would inform the first redesign of the $100 bill. So it went from the green and white one to a new design. There's been subsequent redesigns since then, but we conducted the formative research that started the process of the redesign of the $100 bill. One of the most fascinating projects I've ever worked on. And I got a chance to visit Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Was it a subtle change?
No, it was quite a broad
significant change.
In the type of paper that was being used, in the watermarking, in the transparency, the weight of the paper. There were a very large number of changes. There's a lot of counterfeiting done with the $100 bill, and so it was kind of a necessary move for the U.S. government to make these changes. And I think they've even become more sort of complex in the way that they've designed it just to try to reduce counterfeiting.
And for a lot of women watching this program, I mean, you're an inspiration, Dr. So can you talk a little bit about the Stevie Awards and how you came into that and how you were awarded?
So I would first start off the answer by saying that I think it's important for all of us to reach out for third-party validation, for others to say you're great. I am a firm believer in awards, and throughout my career, I've had a chance to get awards from IABC, the International Association of Business Communicators, where you can present your ideas, you can present your programs, you can present the good work that you do and get validated by a third party. So I'd first say that I'm a firm believer in professionals using these kinds of awards program to validate what you're doing and who you are. The Stevie Awards, it's a global award program that awards excellence in a very large number of categories. And I think that is yet another representation of this idea of how we can present what we do. Another award that I recently won that I was very proud of is the Fast Company World Changing Ideas Award. When I worked for the Securing Water for Food Technical Assistance Facility, I took the time to present the innovative work that we were doing, and we ended up being a finalist in that program. So always consider what kind of third-party validation that you can receive to be able to get confirmation and validation and visibility for the great work that you're doing.
Right. And certainly any company or any organization that wants to get into a government contracting opportunity like USAID, having those validations are really so critical and so important. So, I mean, but I was fascinated with that other aspect of many of your entire, your whole career and what you've done. But, and you're right. And the validation is so important. What kind of advice? I mean, you came in you were born in Louisiana, when you came up to the Washington area, you've been all over the world. I mean, what particularly would you tell women that are watching this show? What kind of advice would you give young women today that do have a lot more tools than certainly we all had, 20 years ago, 10 years ago? What would you tell women?
Yeah, I think listening to your heart and to your gut. And when your gut challenges you, to not be afraid of it. When I moved into the technology realm, I honestly said to myself, what do I know about technology? But my gut was telling me that was a place that I needed to go to be able to expand my own thinking about it and also to expand my opportunities. The second thing is I am personally enriched by my outside activities. I am in a competitive chorus, Harbor City Music Company, and I know you've got a very large female audience. I just want to say that if you're a singer, if you've done plays or anything like that, and you're interested in being in a chorus, a competitive a cappella chorus, take a look at YouTube. And if you Google Harbor City Music Company Finals 2019, you'll see a show package. I'm the only one with the hat. You'll see a show package that may intrigue you into checking us out. But I would say always balance your serious work with a measure of creativity, because I think stimulating ideas and innovation happens when our personal lives provide a creative outlet for us. Absolutely. And, obviously music is a tool for diplomacy around the world. And you certainly have utilized that. And I thank you for all the great work you're doing with USAID, with people in the global arena. Really, it's your work that's going to make a difference. And so thank you for being on the show. The conversation was absolutely fascinating. And we look forward to hearing more about you and your great work globally. You're watching The Next Word. Thank you